everyone. I'm a day early today, so I will give you extra few minutes in order to actually be able to pop in here. Hi, nice to see you. Normally, of course, I'm on a Thursday. Today, obviously Wednesday, but there's a very good reason for being a day early. As part of our birthday celebrations tomorrow, we're going to be doing a YouTube live with Laura Nelkin at 4 o'clock. So I thought it was better to move today's Instagram live to Wednesday so that I could chat with you all about our Clue 1. Same reason why Clue 1 came out today, because I just didn't want things falling over each other, because it's nicer to have a day for each thing that's happening. So I hope you all got a nice surprise, the fact that Clue 1 came out a day early because of our juggling around of the schedule. So it makes it kind of extra fun that you get an extra day surprise to be able to work on it. Now, if you are jumping in and you haven't joined our knit alongs before and you're wondering where you're supposed to go, I'll give you a little bit of an orientation as well. So the main place for chatting with other people is in Knit Hub, which is held in the Circle app. You can either go directly on the website and you can actually kind of run your way through that and just work, you can read through all of the knit along posts. They're open to be able to read. If you want to actually go and post, you will need to make an account and then you can jump in. There's also a Circle app, so if you want to use it either on your phone or an iPad or something like that, you can also download the Circle app and then just log in under our website. So it's a very convenient way of actually being able to chat with other knitters. There's less distractions because unlike places like Facebook, where for me anyway, I keep losing posts or where I'm going, whereas with that, it's dedicated to knitting, and specifically the fact that there's different spaces means that you've got a place in Knit Hub to talk just about the knit along. And in fact, if you haven't gone in there, it's well worth a look, because at the moment we've got some of our knitters have started off teams for the knit along based on the colours they're working with, or there's also a stash team. And we've also had, so Liz was the one that started off the teams, and then Susan Weeks came in, and she has gone ahead and put a couple of logos together for all of the different teams. So you're free to grab those to use to post if you're one of the teams. You can just change your image on it. So just in case a knit along wasn't enough fun by itself, we have now got teams and we've got team logos. So thank you to both of you. I think that just adds an extra layer of fun to the whole thing. So that's all happening in Knit Hub. If you want the patterns, where you find the patterns is going to depend on where you bought the pattern. If you got it on Ravelry, same as every other Ravelry, you're just going to pop in, you'll find it in your library and you'll be able to grab it from there. Every time I've got a new clue, such as today, I will have issued an update and it will be available from that. If you bought the pattern on my website on Stone Stitches, same thing. It's almost the same as Ravelry, as in you'd have gotten a PDF update, just an email that'll say the pattern is available for update. You just click it and you can download it. If you want to find it again after the fact and you deleted the email, create an account on Stone and Stitches on my main shop website and your download library is there. Just anything you've bought, any digital products you've bought will be listed underneath that there. So very convenient to get it. If you bought it on my website, you've also been auto-enrolled in Teachable, which is where all of the videos and all of that are going to be hosted. And inside that, there's a pattern resource section. In the pattern resources, whenever there's a new clue, I'm going to upload it up there. I'll delete the previous ones because it will incorporate anything new in it, so there's no reason to have both of them there. So you can always go in there and just download it directly from there. So there's 3 different places basically that you can get your pattern from. So hopefully you can find it in one of those spots. If you run into problems, give me a shout or post up in Knit Hub. Either myself or another knitter should be able to help you out with that. So let me know, everyone out there, which colour you're working on and if you've gotten started. I'm kind of seeing there's a few in here. We've gotten a few definite thumbs up for Knit Hub. We've got Knit Hub is great for communicating, for fun, but also if there's an issue, someone can see you immediately. Exactly. It's very convenient for me. If there's something that's tagged with me, I'll get an actual post into my phone or into my email. So I'm going to see it a lot faster than if it goes up somewhere else. So it does have, and it also, there's some questions if it's on a weekend and I'm not accessible. I'd say a good 80-90% of questions, another knitter, if it's not a technical thing, and a lot of other knitters will be able to jump in and help you as well. So you won't be stuck waiting for an answer if I can't jump in immediately. So it's a good spot to get fast pattern answers and chat, of course. But yeah, we've got Monica. You are knitting an unexpected McCall. Oh, lovely. I think I always think of unexpected McCall as being the faded denim of the newer world. The one I'm wearing here is Cafe Flamingo. This is a previous knit along from a few years ago. This is called Spree. And actually the Cafe Flamingo I find is almost, I won't say a neutral, but I wear a lot of greys. And so this kind of a deep magenta pinky color I find actually ends up going with grey very, very well. So it is, oddly enough, almost like a neutral cardigan color for me with the rest of my wardrobe. And then of course we have our Hatter's Teal Party back here. I know there's a few other ones. We've got Liz, you've got Frog, Frog on the Wall. Yeah, Frog on the Wall is just a lovely color. It is. I've got, do I have a color of it around here? Not sure if I have Frog on the Wall. What I do have is, this is a shawl, Neon Skylines, and this color here is Late Night Blue. So this is kind of the indigo denim. So I think of Unexpected McCalls as like your faded denim. Late Night Blues is like the indigo denim. So they're two ends of the denim range, is a good way of kind of viewing it. If any of you have started on the pattern and you're kind of wondering where to go, or you've got any questions, pop them on up here, and I will answer them as I go. You haven't got your yarn yet. You're a little stressed as it's your first cardigan. Do not worry. We will all be here to help you out regardless of when your yarn gets here, and nobody's going to disappear. So we will make sure that you have all the support you need to make your way through the cardigan, regardless of when you actually get started with it. You'll be good. You'll be good, and you can ask all the questions you want. One of the benefits of actually not immediately jumping in is that you get to watch any questions that people have as they go through. So it's a definite advantage. One question that has been coming up has been in relation to gauge and adjusting size. So I've put in the pattern that little formula I use, whereby if you've got a different gauge, how you would use that to adjust the sizing in the pattern and figure out what end size you're going to get. I think it's a very handy one to have. Now, obviously, if there's a couple of different stitch patterns and different things going on, it's a bit different. But with something like this, because a lot of it is in one pattern all the way across, either the lace or the stockinette stitch, you can use that calculation and you'll get a very good idea of what your finished size is going to end up as. So really, really handy. And based on that, you can actually figure out which size you would like to knit to get the right circumference. Then in terms of length, you still want to go to the length that you want. So say you want to make 35-inch size that's finished, but your gauge is tighter, so you have to knit a bigger size. For the lengths, you're actually still going to be using the lengths that you would have for the 35-inch size. So the lengths stay the same, but you can knit to length rather than just the rows by themselves. So it's kind of a combination of figuring out, this is where I want to be, but this is my gauge, and the two of them together will get you out the other side with the finished size that you want. You like Cafe Flamingo as well. Yeah, I love Cafe Flamingo. I think there's something about this particular pink color that makes me feel like it's summery or alive or bright, or when I'm in a good mood, or even if it's a grey day and I feel like I just need a little pop of color, it's a good one for all of those. I've got a bunch of colors down here. Let me just grab the newer yarns down here. And here we go. We brought up a stack of the different colors because these are all our different team colors. Hatter's Teal Party. My Cafe Flamingo just fell down, but I'm wearing it. This is our Chalk and Plum, which I had a discussion with someone over the weekend. To me, this is a very plummy color. Somebody else viewed that as quite brown, but it's just a very good indication of how people view colors differently, and words, when it comes to colors, can be deceptive. So let your eyes be the best gauge really, and figuring out getting them in your hand, you'll know better than anyone else. Here's Frog on the Wall, Figment, which is a lovely deep purpley colour, Cerebellum, which is a dark dusty rose, Late Night Blues, and here is our August Storms. So that's, I think these are all of the teams we've got, the various different team colours that are up there, and there is a stash team. So if you started with a stash team, we've got, is Frog on the Wall more greenish than the Rolling Bales? Yes, it is. Frog on the Walls is what I would affectionately like to term as grello. So it's kind of a mix, it's a kind of a greeny yellow is the best way of describing Frog on the Wall. Rolling Bales is more into a yellowy mustard, a colour like a deep straw colour is what Rolling Bales would be, hence the colour. But Frog on the Wall is definitely, it's on the green side of the yellowy, is a good way of describing it, I think. So now for clue one. Clue one, we begin with the yoke, and this is top down. So you're going to start off with your cast on along here. When you cast on for this, we will be picking up stitches for the neck edge afterwards. So the type of cast on becomes a little less important. You want something with a bit of stability, but how it looks isn't critical because it won't be seen. It's going to be hidden under the picked up stitches here. I used a long tail cast on. Cable cast on would work great. Anything that you can do fairly easily, gives you a nice edge and isn't going to stretch or I'd stretch out of shape or be too constrictive. So just a pretty standard cast on is all you need. You'll very quickly do a little bit of increases because top down circular yokes, you want to start increasing very quickly because when we start from our neck down, you can see how fast it starts coming out. So there's increases very quickly. Then we're doing German short rows back and forth here, which gives us the little height along here. And then we do a big increase row all the way around. Now I've done a lifted increase that may be new to you. Very easy to do, and it gives an almost seamless finish. So it's a lovely, lovely one to have when you've got an entire row of increases around like that, because it becomes almost invisible. You got the first band of your bumblebee stitch pattern, then in between this one you've got increase, and then you've got another one. So there's actually two repeats of it here, but there's a few rows of stockinette with an increase in the middle, and then you've got a lot more worked across here. And then we've got a few more increases. You can kind of see the increases if you, let me put it back here, if you look a little closely here, and then you finally finish at the bottom of the yoke. I give the length of the yoke, so that means that you can actually, you can measure as you're going along, and if you've got a difference row gauge, because very often when you're knitting, your stitch gauge may be correct, but your row gauge may be either shorter or longer. So once you've got your stitch gauge correct, it means you know that the size of the garment, the actual, how wide it is around is going to be right. And then you may need to tweak it for the length. If you've got, say this is meant to be 31 rows for 4 inches. If you had 29 rows for 4 inches, it means that you don't need as many rows. So what you might do is, if it's a place where it says work 5 rows in stockinette stitch, you may perhaps work 3 rows in stockinette stitch. Or you might leave a little bit at the end where instead of, you maybe not need as many plain rows at the very end. But I would be inclined to take a little bit out as you're working through. You'll have to take them out in multiples of 2 because it's back and forth in rows. In rounds, you can do odd numbers. With this, you'd want to do 2 so that you'll always be on the right side or a wrong side, depending on which one, but you're not going to be changing that. On the other end, if you've got more rows, so over 4 inches, if you've got 33 instead of 31, in that case, you may perhaps add a little bit in some of the spots where you've got a work, do this many rows in stockinette stitch. You may perhaps add a couple of rows here, or you might add a little at the end. Either will work fine. And usually you're talking about fairly small differences in length, but you need to keep an eye on it because it's cumulative. So if you've got a bigger size and you're working a lot more shaping going down here, by the time you get to the yoke, you're going to have a larger difference. So just keep an eye on it and maybe tweak it as you're going along. But the lengths will mean that you can make sure that you come out to the size you want. Now, when you're measuring the length at the end, I specify that you measure from the front, and that is because of those short rows. So if you're measuring from the edge here to the bottom of your needle, it's going to give you the shortest possible length. Whereas if you went from the middle of your work and you're all the way back here, you're going to be adding all of those short rows in, which is going to give you a longer length. So that's why in the pattern you'll see it specifies measure the length at the front of the work away from the short rows. So that's the reason that's in there, because otherwise there's two different lengths and you need to know which one you're checking, because you'll have it quite short on the yoke if you went from the back. So they're the main things to kind of keep an eye out for. If you want to make adjustments to the garment size, because particularly at the end, the final increase round is very widely spaced. So if you want to make it a little bit smaller, that's an easy one to do, just a couple of decreases less. If you want it a little bigger, you can have a couple more increases. The other spot that you can make a change is at the start of the next one. When you remove the sleeves, you'll be casting on underarm stitches. When you cast on underarm stitches, you can change the stitch count there. So if it said cast on 6 stitches, you could make it 8 or 4 and make a change in the bust size with that there. But do bear in mind that when you change the number of stitches at the underarm, you're going to have it'll potentially make a bigger sleeve, because you'll have more stitches to pick up. You can obviously decrease them more or less straight away, but that may not always suit every design. So you keep in mind that if you want to change in the sleeve size, that's a great place to do it. You could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But if you don't want to adjust the sleeve size, you'll have to kind of think that through as you move on to the next stage. So if anybody has any other questions, pop them up here. I will leave these in this post in the reels afterwards. So if you want to come back or take a look at it, it'll be there where I'm talking through it. If there's questions you have after the fact, you can just pop them up in the comments, and I will of course always answer them. And there is always, as we said, Knit Hub, or the Facebook group is also another spot that you can, if you prefer using Facebook, you can go in there and just pop your questions or your progress and things like that up as well. I will remind you again, tomorrow, YouTube, keep an eye out. 4 o'clock, we're going to have the Laura Nelkin chat, where it should be a lot of fun. It's going to be a bit of reminiscing, talking about how we met, our past histories, and just how our design philosophies and life philosophies gel, or I think we gel more than not gelling. So it should be a lot of fun. And on Saturday, of course, we have a Zoom live if you're not in Cork, where you can jump in at 2 o'clock Irish time, and we're going to have our birthday party. If you are in Cork, 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, we have got an open studio here with a discount, and we should have a lot of fun. So anyone who's in Cork or nearby, you are welcome. We would love to see you. It would be great if you could register on the Eventbrite registration, because that way we get an idea of how many people are coming. If you're not sure, then just turn up. But if you're sure you're going to come, or you're fairly sure, please do just pop in a registration there so we get an idea of numbers. And thank you all again, and have a very good Wednesday, not Thursday, and see you all tomorrow.